good.
Good. Well, thank you. And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March meeting of the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority Board of Directors. Spring is officially here, so it's we've had some really great spring weather last few days, and looks like it's going to get a little cooler, but it can be expected. But still, days are getting a little longer, and we'll look forward to spring. Just a reminder that today we have Emily Chandler with us as our meeting host. If you have any issues at all, make sure you get a hold of Emily through the chat feature, and she can help you out. Again, just a reminder to keep your microphones muted if you're not speaking, and try to remember to unmute them when you go to speak. Have your participant and chat windows open, and we'll try and use the raised hand feature if you have a question or comment. If you don't have the raised hand feature, then just physically wave your hand or speak up, and we'll recognize you and try to keep on top of everything. And again, a reminder that today's meeting is being recorded and live streamed on our YouTube channel, and this is part of our requirement to allow public viewing of the proceedings. We'll also begin today with our First Nation territorial greeting. We will begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Attawandaron, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Lenape peoples, who have a long-standing relationship to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation at Moravian Town. In the region, there are 11 First Nation communities and a growing Indigenous urban population. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island. So, I'm going to ask Michelle to do the roll call for attendance, please. Michelle?
Blanche.
Present.
Anna Hopkins.
Here.
Tony Jackson.
Yes.
Sandy Levin.
Here.
Margaret Lupton.
You're there, Margaret?
Here, I am here.
I got Nancy Manning.
Here.
Hugh McDermott.
Here.
Paul Mitchell.
Here.
Anna Marie Murray, I just received regrets from. So Anna Marie Murray is not able to make it today. Brian Petrie.
Present.
Jim Reffel.
Here.
Joe Salter.
Here.
Mark Schadenberg.
Present.
Alex Westman.
Here.
And Alan Dale.
Present. Okay, thank you, Michelle. So we've got 14 of the directors here, and Anna Marie sends her regrets. Okay, so moving on, first item we have is the approval of the agenda. Can I get Alex to move that motion and Marie to second it, please?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Great, thank you. So the motion is to approve the agenda as posted. Any comments or questions at all? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so I will call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll call, please.
Marie Blanche.
Yes.
Anna Hopkins.
Yes.
Tony Jackson.
Yes.
Sandy Levin.
Yes.
Margaret Lupton.
Yes.
Nancy Manning.
Yes.
Hugh McDermott.
Yes.
Paul Mitchell.
Yes.
Anna Marie Murray. Sorry, Anna Marie's not here. Brian Petrie. Brian.
Yes.
Jim Reffel.
Yes.
Joe Salter.
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg.
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
Alan Dale.
Yes. Okay, so that motion carries. Thank you. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest today from any of the board members? Not seeing or hearing anything. So the next item we have is the minutes of the previous meeting. And that was dated February the 17th, 2022. Can I get Anna to move that, please, and Tony to second it?
Happy to move it.
And seconded.
Okay, thank you very much. So the minutes have been posted there with the agenda. Any comments, questions, any errors or omissions in the minutes from February the 17th? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so if there's no comments or questions, I will call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Mary Blanche,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Brian Petrie,
Yes.
Jim Reffel,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
Alan Dale.
Yes. So that motion is carried. Thank you. We have no business arising from those minutes. We have no delegations for today's meeting. That takes us down to item number 6, which is correspondence. And there is one item there of correspondence. You'll recall that we sent a letter to the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks regarding the Species at Risk Stewardship Program and our concerns with the funding and the way that it was conducted this last year. And this is the response that we received. And so if I could get Sandy to move that we receive this correspondence. So Sandy to move it and Margaret to second it, please.
So moved.
Margaret, are you there?
Yeah, it's going on and off. Yes. So seconded.
Good, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I was just say didn't really expect to get great news in reply from the minister, but the response is rather disappointing and rather infuriating. But Tracy, I'll turn it over to you and rest of the staff. Any comments?
Thank you, Alan, through the chair. I just wanted to suggest that the report provided by staff was just to provide some clarity and a little bit more context to the response from the minister. I think it's great that some of the fundraising efforts and support from the community has been very good, and we're going to continue along that avenue to look for other alternatives for supporting the program at this time, and for a chance to reapply next year. So with that, I see that there's a few hands.
Okay, yep, we'll open it up for questions. So Brian, you're first.
Yeah, and I just want to say that I share Alan's views on this, that it really just feels like a standard response form that was filled out and no real thought was gone into it. And there's obviously, staff has pointed out, there's some inconsistencies even in what they have provided. So I think if anything, it does share the government's view on this, that they just don't care. Because if they had, they would have probably provided a little bit more in their letter and maybe offered for some consultation on the matter further, but it was just more of a standard response, in my opinion, and maybe shows the level of the minister's knowledge of his profile, or that he's in charge of there. So I do want to thank the community for their outstanding support. As we all know, it's support. It should be supported provincially and elsewhere, but at least the people on the ground know about this, and they've supported it, and we thank them very much. And I do think it will continue with that, because it's such a amazing program that just physically shows the benefits of what UTRCA does as a whole. So I don't think you'll have a problem getting funding on the ground for that one. And unfortunately, the current government doesn't see it that way, but maybe in the future they will.
Yep, sure enough. Thank you. Anna, you're next.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to staff for giving clarity to and following up. I think it's really important that we understand where we are with the funding that we weren't given and doing that follow-up, which I know it takes a lot of time and effort and work, but I think it is really important. And I too share Brian's disappointment in the response from the minister as well. On the other hand, you really read the letter, it apparently there were other more high quality projects that were selected. And I just really hope that was the case, given the high quality of the project that Upper Thames has been working on for the past number of years. But I just, it's just so disappointing to hear that. But my thanks to the community as well. I think it's really shows how the community has stepped up and realized the importance. And I understand the MP Sattler has been in touch, which is great. I know she's a supporter, but I was wondering if Minister McNaughton somehow has been informed about this, given that he is a sitting MP for the provincial government. And I would hope that we have been able to pass on this information to him. I hope that we're going to be applying, or are we, maybe this is a question through you, Mr. Chair, to staff, if we are going to be applying for further funding or the next year, if that's the case. And it was suggested that we attach ourselves to another partner. Just like a little bit more information there, how we go forward with this.
Okay,
Staff.
Tracy, I'll start with you. You want to respond to
Sure.
those questions?
Yes, through the chair, to Councillor Hopkins. Certainly, I think that's the intent. We're still exploring those options right now, and where potentially there might be a best fit to complement. But really haven't dug into a lot of detail as of yet. So, but we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. What is the timeline on the next round of funding? Just for my information.
I am not positive on that.
Okay.
Chair. Scott couldn't be here today, but I'll get Scott to send you a response afterwards. But typically, we're looking at the province's fiscal. Again,
Okay.
those timelines have changed a little bit in the past few years, so I'm not sure for this specific program. But I'll have Scott follow up.
Thank you, and just thank you to staff for all the great work that you do, and again, thanks to the community for stepping up as well.
Yep, true enough. Thank you. And yeah, it was, I think the fiscal year should end at the end of March. So normally this was a spring program, but as you recall, the government was quite late last year in making the announcement. So I'm not sure if this year they're back on schedule by any means, but we'll have staff follow up on that. Mark, go ahead.
Yes, thanks a lot, Chair. I guess through to Tracy as well. Just curious as to what the total raised is now, considering the date of the report in the agenda. I think was March 11th or March 12th or something. Has more dollars been raised since then? Are you getting closer to a significant goal of an amount to be raised?
Do you have any update at all on that, Tracy?
Yes, to the chair, to Mark. I am trying to remember if I heard an updated number yesterday, and I didn't hear anything revised. It was pretty consistent with this. Again, those fundraising efforts are still ongoing, and I've heard news that we're expecting a second installment of one of the larger donors, but that has not yet been confirmed. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments then on this item? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so we do have a motion on the floor to receive this correspondence. And if there's no further comments or questions, I will call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Mary Blanche,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
yes,
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Brian Petrie,
Yes.
Jim Reffel,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. So that motion is carried. Thank you. Item number 7 is business for approval. There's a couple of items there. The first is 7.1. These are the bylaw amendments. If I could get Nancy to move this and Hugh to second it, please.
Yeah, I move the recommendation.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you very much, folks. So this has been quite the project that we've been involved with, and did some work, and then it got held up, and then the Conservation Authorities Act was amended, and we had to incorporate some more changes. So it's been quite a process. Many of you were able to join us. I guess that was about a week and a half ago there. We had the training session with Nigel Belchamber. Quite an informative session that we had there, and hope everyone had lots of opportunity to review the updated bylaw. Tracy, I'll turn it over to you to explain some of the changes that we've made as a result of that training session. So, Tracy?
Thank you to the chair. Certainly the report outlines some of the background, more governance changes and updates that have been accounted for in order to comply with the Conservation Authorities Act. But I just wanted to highlight a few of the changes that were recommended by Nigel through our training session as well. I'll just skim through some of the highlights. Certainly there was a few areas that were identified as potential duplication. And so trying to reduce that amount of duplication, because that can lead to some confusion, and also making sure that we are in line with our Robert's Rules of Order and our 3rd edition. So as mine's getting tabbed up as we speak. But certainly the ways we've addressed that is item 6.2 was eliminated as it was shown to be duplicated in 15.2. The addition of 7.1K in that section really speaks to the types of motions, and felt that it was better captured there than rather in the separate section in item 16. Makes you dig forward a little bit further through the bylaw. So having all of those together, again, it makes it easier and less confusing. Certainly the protocol for electronic meetings has been updated. Initially, we were given the authority and direction from the province to allow for electronic meetings. We had further communication from the province that said, yeah, it doesn't have to be just during times of emergencies. If that's a protocol that your bylaws want to update, feel free to do so. We did that update, but forgot to strike out a couple of the little instances of in cases of emergency. So that's just been corrected and clarified. Regarding the delegations items, I think Nigel referred to it as you don't want to be open to an ambush. So just clarifying that in matters of delegations, the request should be written in advance. As well, just clarifying some of the language in item 11.4. So removing the term, at the discretion of either the general manager and the chair. Just removed first sentence, the remainder of the paragraph remained the same, and outlined the instances when those delegations could be declined. At a certain meeting time frame constraints, the agenda is already full, or if really it's not our role and mandate. Recognize that It does get confusing sometimes of whose responsibility is for certain things, if it's the Ministry of the Environment, if it's us, if it's MNRF. Sometimes those conversations go a long way at the beginning to really direct where a delegation should be asking those questions. As well, there were certain items in 14.3 that were revised to reflect that abstaining from a vote is recorded as a negative or a 0 vote. I know in the past there had been a recommendation by this board to change the way the wording was reflected. But again, when you're talking about good practice, best management practices, and consistency with Robert's rules, as well as consistency with the Conservation Ontario's template for admin bylaws, the language has been reverted back to what it was originally before that board change. So, and the latter part of the enforcement of the code of conduct, that was something that was brought up after Nigel had some conversations with one of his colleagues. It is a bit confusing when it comes to enforcement. We were hoping that because our board members are appointed by our municipalities, any of that enforcement process could go back to the municipality's own integrity commissioners to undertake either an inquiry or an investigation. The challenge being is how local boards are specifically identified in both the Municipal Act and the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. So certainly we're required to have our code of conduct and abide by the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act because conservation authorities are specifically identified in that piece of legislation under the definition of local board. However, under the Municipal Act, local boards specifically exclude school boards and conservation authorities boards. So the integrity commissioners are identified under the Municipal Act, so we can't use them to undertake our own investigations. So with that, I was able to work with Grant Inglis, our solicitor, to develop our own process and identify, again, based on Nigel's recommendation, that there might be times where an independent investigator should be utilized by the board. So that's where that process has been laid out for conducting an investigation if there is a breach to the code of conduct. And that's been added to our bylaw. And instead, the appendice that deals with the code of conduct, that repetition is removed in the appendice and speaks directly to the requirements under the updated bylaw. So those are a few of the things that we've tried to address. And again, our goal is to ensure that we have that clarity, that we're consistent with best practices, as well as we're consistent with the Conservation Ontario's template. So a few refinements there that have been done, but certainly open to answering any questions you might have on that.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Open it up for comments and questions. Sandy, go ahead. You're first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure I caught, through you to Tracy, I'm not sure I caught your comment about clause 16 on page 24. I had thought that that was redundant. Do you need a motion to remove it?
Yes, or alternatively, I'm just trying to remember, the other option was to specify that that clause could be for committees, because there are different rules of practice when dealing with reconsiderations of motions in committees, when you're looking at Robert's rules.
Yeah, for the committee's benefit, or for the board's benefit, it's not in that table.
No,
That's
it's
on
not.
screen.
That's the governance table. These are more the procedural updates that I've just covered verbally.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Chair, I'm looking for a little direction in this because what's on the, yeah.
We
What's
talked
on
about
the
those two
agenda?
options, either taking it out completely or just adding the words in committee, like in committee meetings. So I don't know, Tracy, where we've landed on this or what the staff recommendation is.
Well, it was based on Nigel's recommendation was to remove it and capture it instead more generally in the list as item K, 7.1K.
Yeah,
So I
I'd
think
be
that's
happy to
probably
move
the
from-
easiest.
yeah, I would be happy to move that we delete clause 16.
Okay.
Make that
Let me just write this down.
If it's to amend the motion, I'm happy to make that as a motion to amend, but I'm in your hands, Mr. Chair. Because it is redundant and it can be confusing.
I normally would have said we'll accept it as a friendly amendment, but Nigel's remarks were no, it should be an amendment and should be voted on separately and then vote on the entire motion. So I will do that. So Sandy has moved that we remove clause 16. Can I have a seconder for that, please?
So moved. Tony.
Tony, okay, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so let's wrap this one up first. Any discussion then on that amendment to remove clause 16? It was something that was talked about and we should have done it, just got overlooked in the actual report when we got out to the board. So any comments or questions at all on removing that clause 16? I'm not hearing or seeing anything, so I'm going to call for the vote on that. We'll deal with that amendment and then we can go back to having discussion on the whole motion. So if there's no other comments or questions all on that amendment, I will call for a vote on the amendment to remove clause 16. Michelle, can you do the roll for that, please?
Marie Blanche,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes,
Margaret Lupton,
Margaret? Margaret, you're on mute.
Okay, I'll come back to Margaret. Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Brian Petrie,
Yes.
Jim Reffel,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
Alan Dale,
Yes.
and Margaret, are you still here? She's still in the meeting.
Yeah, Margaret's there, but we can't get an audio from her. We'll keep working on that. Hopefully we can get Margaret back so that we can hear her. The motion does carry the amendment. So the amendment's been passed. We can put that on to the amended motion. So let's get back to
Can you hear me
discussion.
now?
Oh,
Can
there
you
we
hear
go,
me?
Margaret.
Okay,
Yes.
yes. Sorry,
Yes, okay.
problems today.
You're in support of the amendment? That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so discussion then on this amended motion. Joe, go ahead.
Actually, this was not on the amended motion. It's just a couple of cleanup items. I noticed in the introduction in the municipalities, I didn't see Perth West there. And also,
Okay.
in the definitions, I'm not sure the definition of the agricultural representative is accurate.
Okay. So yeah, if we're missing Perth West, there's a few little typos and things like that. We should make sure we get cleaned up. We don't want to omit any of our member municipalities. Tracy, do we have any more information at all about the agricultural representatives?
Not a lot of detail, just what's prescribed in the act. And then through the information session that happened on the afternoon of our last board meeting, there was a MECP discussion for conservation authorities to ask questions. I guess the most common answer was it's at the discretion of the minister when it's dealing with timelines, when it's dealing with the term, I should say. It is a provincial appointee and such. Any CAs that currently provide per diems would be, the representative would receive per diems from the province at the provincial rate for their groups. Other than that, again, a lot of that discussion is kind of straight from the text that's provided in the Conservation Authorities Act right now, but I can double check that because it comes from section 14.4.01. Is that in the definition section?
Joe, do you remember whereabouts you saw that?
That's in the definitions, and it appears there's a not missing.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
There's
I just caught that.
non-budgetary.
Okay.
To not vote. There we go. That makes sense. Okay, that can certainly be added.
Okay, so and I heard Michelle's voice there. I think Michelle caught this too, and then so we can make those clarifications and corrections to the bylaw. Okay, that's good. Thanks, Joe. Mark, you're next.
Thanks, Tom. My question again is to clarify something about this agricultural sector position. At the annual meeting, for example, if this agricultural sector person is at large, would they be able to sort of vote on the budget based on the fact that we're already voting on a weighted scale, depending on what township or what municipality we represent? Their vote would have would have an effect on overall levies, yet they don't really represent one specific area.
Through the chair,
Tracy?
I could clarify that no, this position would not vote on any budgetary matters. And the request from CAs to the province was to better define what constitutes budgetary matters. Because is it any discussion on any budget matter, or is it just the actual budget? So there was a few questions and requests for clarification. So.
Okay, so it sounds like we're not 100% certain, but definitely the agricultural rep would not vote on the final budget vote. So we at least don't have to worry about that one. Any follow-up, Mark?
No, I'm good now.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any other hands. Any other comments or questions from anyone? Oh, Anna, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give my thanks to staff on having the training session. I found it very informative. I'm starting to realize the importance of policies and bylaws and how we follow through with them, and the transparency that our policies and bylaws hopefully allow us to communicate. I do want to just bring to your attention, it's not on the bylaw itself, but since we're into the weeds here, the agenda numbers should, in the memo, should say 7.1, not 7.2. It does say on the main agenda 7.1, but just a clerical error that needs to be corrected. And again, thanks so much for having that training session for us.
Okay, thanks, Anna. I'm just going back to find that. Yeah, there's a few little typos, so I'm glad the board members have caught those. Yeah, it is agenda item 7.1 on the main, the beginning, but on this actual report, it says 7.2. So it is in fact 7.1. You're right. And I think Upper Thames, we were fortunate. We had a pretty good administrative bylaw in place before, but as has been mentioned, with the updates to the Conservation Authorities Act, there are a number of changes that we've had to incorporate, and we have been able to also update our bylaw to affect best practices and ensure that we are still providing that transparency and making sure that we're doing the best that we can to do the work that we need to do and communicate that to the public. So thank you for our staffs for all their hard work on this, and thank you to the board members for, it's a lot to report to read through, but good that you folks have done that, and we've picked out some of these typos and missing comments. Any further comments or questions? I'm not seeing or hearing anything here, so I am going to call for the vote. We do have the amendment passed, so this is on the amended motion. So it includes the bylaw in front of you with the addition of removing clause 16. And still not seeing any hands, so with that, I will call for the vote. Michelle, could you do the roll, please?
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
No.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Brian Petrie,
Yes.
Jim Reffel,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. Okay, so that carries. Next item we have is 7.2, and this is the pesticide application policy. If I could get Paul to move that, and Anna Marie is not with us today, so if I could get Marie Blosh to second that, please.
So moved.
I will second it.
Okay, thank you. And so the report is there. We certainly, invasive species and things like that, no end to the some of the things we have to deal with, but it's good to have a policy in place. We already had one, but of course to update it and keep everyone informed, and recognizing that there is occasions when we do need to use pesticides, but we're going to do that in a very ecologically sound manner and in combination with our integrated pest management strategy. So I've got Brad is available for any questions or comments, and I'll open it up to the board for any questions and comments that you might have. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. Through you, Mr. Chair, I apologize to staff. I usually try to ask questions, send emails ahead of time, but this just came to mind. Is there any significant change to this policy from previous policies?
Brad, you want to tackle that, please?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. No, there's no significant changes, Paul. It primarily resulted from changes and a little bit of change in the legislation, but other than that, there's not a lot of changes.
Okay, thanks, Brad.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so I'm going to call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Brian Petrie,
Yes.
Jim Ruffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. So that carries. Thank you. And thanks, Brad. Appreciate that. It's let's say it's not a lot of changes, but it's good to make those changes and have it updated and for the board to be aware of our policies there. So that's good. Moving on to item number 8, that's business for information. And first one is 8.1, and that's the section 28 report. Can I get Brian to move that and Jim to second it, please?
So moved.
I will second that.
Okay, thank you. So we've got Jenna and the staff here. Any comments or questions at all on the section 28 report? I'm not seeing or hearing anything here. So if there are no questions or comments, I'm going to call for the vote. Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
yes,
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Brian Petrie,
Yes.
Jim Ruffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. So that carries. Thank you. And thanks to Michelle and the planning staff, or sorry, Michelle, yes. And also thanks to Jenna and the planning staff. I know it's only one page of permits that were issued, but there are many more that they are working on. And as we get into the springtime, you can be rest assured that there's a lot of activity going on out there, and there'll be a lot more reports and a lot more applications coming before staff. So appreciate all that. Item number 8.2 is the health and safety summary. And that's there for our annual report for information. If I could get Joe to move that and Mark to second it, please.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Good, thank you. And we've got Jennifer available to answer any questions. Any comments or questions at all from any of the board members? I'm not seeing any hands. I'm not hearing anything. We're quite fortunate that we didn't sustain any major issues over the past year. So if there's no comments or questions, I will call for the.
Alan, if I can just jump in.
Go ahead.
I
Yeah,
just
sorry,
wanted to
Tracy.
highlight that this year's report, we've always brought an annual report on injuries sustained in the workplace and any incidents involved. But we also tried to provide a little bit of a summary of any training that's been completed this past year, and then what's being proposed for this coming year too. So that's a little bit different than past reports. I think that provides a better view of how we've addressed some of these accidents that we've had, and then how we want to make sure that we're training staff appropriately and what we're looking forward to do in this coming year to make sure that we're staying on top of our health and safety to keep our staff safe. So just wanted to add that's a little bit different than previous years.
Okay, yep, very good. And yeah, certainly training is an important aspect of that and goes hand in hand with it. So it's good. Oh, Sandy, you got a question or comment? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just reminded myself that the provincial government announced some rebates for WSIB. Are we paying into WSIB and eligible for any of the refunds?
Tracy, you or Christine
Actually, Jen here, yeah.
Jen.
We are
Oh, Jen,
eligible.
go ahead.
Yeah, we are eligible for a refund, and I don't, Sharon Vigilante would normally administer that. She did receive a total as to what we were receiving back, but yeah, we are eligible for that.
Okay, that's good news. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to follow up on that and get some more information.
Yeah, I
That's,
don't mind doing that.
Yeah, it's good to know. There was a surplus in the WSIB program, and I know I received a letter just about a week ago, but I haven't received an actual amount as to how much I will be getting back from WSIB that I pay for the guys that help me on the farm. But for those board members aren't aware of it, they're actually, the WSIB program has done quite well the last few years. And so employers will be getting a rebate. So that's good news. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, through you to Tracy and Jennifer. I noticed the Minister of Labor audit, and we're proceeding with harassment and workplace risk management policy or assessment policy. I just wondered, have we been seeing increased harassment and potential violence towards our staff? I know a few months ago we talked about a policy with infectious complaints with people that were repeatedly hounding our staff about issues. So I just wondered if this, other than the Minister of Labor pointing this out, has this been a problem?
Jennifer? Or sorry, Tracy, either one.
I'll jump in and just suggest through the chair that as a result of the Ministry of Labor visit, it prompted us to undertake a survey of all staff to have a better understanding about what they may be experiencing. And I'm sure Jennifer would like to share kind of the overarching results of that survey and then how that training was developed so that we could provide some of the tools that staff need to better deal with those situations. Jennifer?
Yeah, so obviously when the Ministry of Labor came, they gave us a very limited time frame to complete the actual risk assessment. And that meant we weren't able to actually interact with every staff individually. So it was decided through Human Resources that we could send out a survey that would enable staff to participate. Questions asked such as, are they familiar with their policy? Do they know where to find the policy? What have you experienced, et cetera, et cetera. And staff did indicate, obviously, that based on their individual positions, they have experienced harassment, whether it be in the field or whatnot. So we took that information and the comments that came with it, and there was 3 main areas that staff asked for the additional training in, and that was the mental health, mental illness, and personal care, de-escalation trainings, so how to deal with those situations where you're dealing with somebody that is angry or aggressive, and then also looking at our standard operating procedures, such as the working alone procedure and vehicle procedures. So how to disengage, how to, if you are working alone or using your vehicle as a tool to be able to separate yourself. So yeah, I mean, obviously COVID, and again, just speaking from my park experience, yeah, COVID definitely has shortened the fuse of many. And I don't think, though, what we saw in the survey from staff really wasn't any different than what we expected. And when you deal with the public as much as we do, I think you're going to see it.
Okay. Any follow-up at all, Paul?
No, I have a daughter that's an ER nurse, and certainly in her line of work has been a well-publicized increase in harassment and physical violence. So I just wondered if that translates over to us. So thanks to both Tracy and Jennifer.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. So with that, I will call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Mary Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Brian Petrie,
Yes.
Jim Reffel,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. So that carries. That's good. Thank you. And thanks, Jennifer. Certainly lots going on to keep you busy there in health and safety. And it's probably a very good idea that we have someone managing that full time now. So thank you. Item number 9 is the FYI report. So again, spring is here, and good to see some spring activity starting to take place. Tundra swans, I heard some just about, I believe that was Friday. I heard them go over here. So birds are coming back, lots of tree planting activities getting planned, and it's good to see our tree power program expanding into more municipalities. So that's great news. Tracy, some comments at all to make on this?
Sure. I just wanted to highlight the one discussion point in the FYI is the Thames Water Shared Waters approach. We've touched on it and had a few conversations about the shared waters approach, the board meetings in the past, but working with Mark Peacock from the Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority, and together we've both agreed that this is going to be one of the foundational documents of our watershed-based resource management strategy. It really is kind of the basis to deal with our goals related to water quality and water quantity. They align very well with our environmental targets, as well as our approaches to climate change mitigation and adaptation. This type of approach then goes further to engage our communities, engaging groups like our agricultural representatives, our municipal partners, and even our First Nations. So we really just wanted to highlight that we're in good shape because we have this document, because this has been something that has been in working towards a collaborative process for input for many years. And now we're at the stage where we're working together. There's been working groups provided in each one of those areas I just mentioned to then report on and provide progress of what's been happening. And the great thing about the idea of having a plan is that continuous monitoring, being able to report back on areas that you've been able to complete and then refine actions for improvement moving forward. So just wanted to share that's the huge part of the water side of things and dealing with our water resources. And then we'll complement that with our natural heritage. In the FYI, the new aerial photography is out. A huge part of what we use the aerial photography for is monitoring our sub-watersheds, looking at our landscape, and being able to determine where those vegetation communities are, and look for opportunities for areas that we could be enhancing and providing linkages. So just wanted to bring those to your attention. They're mentioned in the FYI, but just so that you have that connection with how that will assist us in completing those broader resource management plans, as well as looking at our own inventories for our own properties and management plans for those lands too. Thank you.
Okay. Any comments or questions at all on the FYI report? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so with that, we'll go down to the next item. Item number 10 is other business. I only have one comment to make. again, I'd just like to say that our thoughts and prayers are with the family and the friends of the drowning victim in Mitchell. Real tragic story that a young child drowned in Whirl Creek. And of course, our thanks to all of the municipal staff and first responders who were involved, a lot of volunteers, people that put a lot of time and effort into that. Of course, it's very, very difficult being involved in that type of operation, but certainly appreciate it. Appreciate the efforts of Conservation Authority staff. I know we'd been called upon for some information, and we provided some updated mapping, and CA staff were involved as well. So it's certainly greatly appreciated. Drowning, unfortunately, is a far too frequent occurrence in this country, and we are a country with many water bodies and lakes and rivers, and this is something that we've, our own staff stress. We send these bulletins out regularly with flooding and snow melts, and urging people to keep away from fast moving waters, and especially this time of year when the banks are slippery. And certainly we just encourage people to continue to be very, very aware of water and be safe out there. But unfortunately, tragedies do occur, and as I said, our thoughts and prayers are with all the people involved up there in the community of Mitchell. Tracy, you have some other concluding remarks?
Yeah, I did see Alex Weston's hand for a moment,
Oh.
and then it went down, but
Sorry, Alex, did you have a comment?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just didn't want to follow that heartfelt message with something like this. But if with the board's indulgence, recently I became aware of a situation in Thames Center where a farm site had been altered significantly by landfill, or by bringing in fill from a couple of construction sites. I've been in touch with Karen Winfield, and she was very helpful. You got a real good person there. She's been dealing with it quite well, but one thing she had brought to my attention, and I followed up with my own counsel, and we've begun the process of drafting and a site alteration bylaw. Now, I didn't know a whole lot about this in the beginning, but I've learned quite a bit over the last little bit that not all municipalities have site alteration bylaws in place. And it would be a real good thing to have to help prevent the filling in of water courses and wetlands and things, which in this case in Thames Center has been the case. They've actually filled in some wetland and a small water course. But yeah, we've had similar situations in our municipality where farmers have come in, and the large operators, and they want to get as much land in production as they can, so they'll fill in wetlands and ponds and things like that, and just go buck wild at it. And so I'm just putting that out to the other municipalities represented here, and maybe have a look into that, because that would certainly be a help to the Conservation Authority as well, because Karen had mentioned that without that support from the municipalities, it's makes their job a little harder to be able to get action when there is a problem. So just wanted to put those 2 cents out there for everybody. Thank you.
Well, that's good. Thank you, Alex, and thanks to you and Karen for being involved with that. And yeah, I don't know, Tracy, if that's something that Jenna maybe and staff could bring back to the board, or whether they're working directly with municipal staff. But certainly, if we have something that could be done there, that a template that works in some municipalities that could be shared with our other member municipalities.
sure, I'll ask Jenna to look into that and provide a report back.
Yeah, no, that would be good. I think just maybe for the board's information, because certainly if there's something that we should be doing and could be doing, we can do
Mr.
that.
Chair. Yeah,
Go ahead,
Mr. Chair,
Alex.
with your indulgence, Mr. Chair, maybe staff could be directed to send that message out to the member municipalities, and some of them may have the bylaws already in place and some may not. And honestly, it didn't actually occur to us that was something we might need and might come in handy. So, with that prompting, it might help municipalities to form that template, get their bylaw in place, and then it'll give everybody a little more teeth to deal with this. So we were lucky, one of our neighboring municipalities had the bylaw in place, so we borrowed that and made the necessary changes to match our needs, and it was really a simple process. Now we're obviously going through all the steps of notice of motion and that sort of thing, but yeah, it would be helpful if the authority could send out something like that. That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, no, it's good. Good to know. Thanks. And yeah, we'll look forward to hearing a little bit more about that. Okay. I'm not seeing any other. Oh, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alan. I just wanted to pass along a thanks to the membership here to our board, that the Woodstock Environment Advisory Committee, when we had our February meeting, which is always the last Tuesday of the month, Brad Hertner was one of our guests as a delegation, and he did an exceptional job talking about the Brick Pond wetlands and so many other things about the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority and trails, of course, too, because he's a member of the Oxford County Trails Council in the Woodstock area. So I just wanted to pass along a great thanks. And it was a terrific resource that the UTRCA has amongst its employees, and that they also go out there for it and volunteer in other areas, in the case of Brad for the Oxford County Trails Council. But what was interesting, so Brad Hertner was talking about the Brick Pond wetlands. We also had Phil Holst there at that meeting talking about Ducks Unlimited. So it was a very interesting conversation between the entire group to have them both there as delegations at the same time, and it was a very worthwhile conversation.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Yep, and thanks for that. And yeah, thank you to Brad Hertner, getting out there and being involved in different communities and working with them and sharing his knowledge. So good. Tracy, over to you for some comments.
Sure, I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update to the board. Certainly, we're also dealing with the changes in provincial requirements, and they're living with and managing COVID-19. But for now, we've decided to stay the course and maintain masking in our workplaces and following the recommendations from our medical officers of health locally. We will continue to work with our COVID team to look at updating our standard operating procedures and looking at timelines for when we can very cautiously and gradually lift some of our other requirements for our remaining operations. But just as an update, I know many municipalities have certainly in their more public recreational centers and things like that have lifted those masking mandates, but certainly for our office in our workplaces, we're continuing the course as is.
Okay, that's good to know. Thanks. And yeah, there's certainly a number of places that are being a little cautious. And I know in my workplace, we are still doing masking and distancing and till we get to the next few weeks, and then we can slowly make some changes. So good to know. If there's nothing else then for other business, we then can move into closed session. We have one item today to deal with in closed session. So if I could get Marie to move and Alex to second that we adjourn into closed session in accordance with section C13 of our administrative bylaw to discuss litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the authority. So Marie and Alex?
Yes, I will move that we go into closed session.
I will second that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any comments or questions on the motion? I'm not seeing anything, so I will call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Ryan Petrie,
Yes.
Jim Reffel,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
Alex Westman,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. So that motion carries. So we will be going into closed session. We'll just give Emily a moment here to stop the live stream and to move